It's something that writers and directors and filmmakers, they forget about. Do you have any tips on how we can add some really nice subtext to our stories?
Actually, so subtext for me is, again, I talk about it in the book briefly as well, is that so I'm going to talk about the breakup scene, because it's one of these, our lives peppered, and if you look back through our memories, there are these certain blips that happen, and breakups and deaths and angry moments are things that kind of pop up. So the breakup scene I kind of use as an example. Often when someone has to write a breakup scene, so your job as a writer is very often like, okay, this guy has to break up with this girl in order for the plot to move forward, so I've got to write a breakup scene. So you're not really, it's not the kind of central reason why you're writing the movie, but for the plot to move forward, you got to write a breakup scene. So you go, okay, they're in bed, and one of them gets up and says something like, I've always loved you, but I think it's time we end it. Okay, whatever. And the other one says,
right.
It's like, okay, well, if you do really, no, please don't leave me, or whatever. I'm just drawing the first thing that comes to mind, and the dialogue is really on the nose, and it's like, but you're getting the scene written, so you're writing it, and it's feeling like, okay, cool, I'm writing a breakup scene, and like structurally, you've written a breakup scene, but there's no subtext. It's all on the nose dialogue. It's all exactly what kind of anyone could write. But if you take a moment to think about, wait a minute, when did I break up with someone? What did I actually say? Yeah. What words were used?
Yeah. I'm going back to my own breakups in my head. As you're saying this, I'm like, we didn't actually say what we meant. We said other things.
Totally. You would never, you don't want to hurt the person's feeling. You don't want to say like, so you get up and you say like, I don't even know what you say. I'm trying to
No, it's just like it's not you, it's me. It's but like but you never, like, I remember one of my breakups, and I didn't even know it came, and it was like literally an hour prior to the breakup, everything was fine, but underneath all of it, it was her about to break up with me, and it just was broadsided me because I couldn't read the subtext of her. Obviously for months, of what she was doing. Obviously for months, I didn't see what was going on, and her discontent with our relationship at the time. But you're right; it was never on the nose. If you do a breakup, it's never on the nose. It's never something that I'm breaking up with you because you leave the dishes out all the time. You don't make the bed, and you're horrible in the sack. Like, you never hear that.
Never. But I see it in first-time scripts all the time, in first drafts. You're like, this is just, whoa, what are you doing? And then, where you hear it, and often, the breakup happens with a look.
Yeah.
Or like a moment or somebody brings you a cup of tea every morning, and one morning they don't. And you look at them, or they bring it and they just put it down, and you look, and there's that one look, and you say, love you, and someone turns away. And you're like, what the fuck? Where's the response? And so for me, the subtext is, and this is, again, one of these things I wanted to teach writers. How do I teach subtext? I don't know, but we live it all the time. We constantly decoding the world as human beings. We're looking at each other's faces. We're constantly reading the subtext all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who's serving you your coffee at the Starbucks, you're looking at the subtext. You're realizing this guy's had a shitty day, and your mind, you're kind of reading into everything all the time. And that is what writers need to write in their scripts, is writing that stuff that we kind of and when you see that on the screen, you're like, she's going to break up with him. You know it already because it's all in the subtext. And I think that's my main advice, is like, write from life, write from what you've seen in life, and then look at your script and go, is this realistic to my own life? Has this and then go to your memory wall and say, can I draw from something else from there? Is there another way of saying this? And I'd say, that's the thing for me with subtext, is it's obviously not writing on the nose, but it's a lot more about what is unsaid. And, one of the kind of, I suppose this isn't in the book, but because it's kind of one of the kind of more obvious things, is like, just if you can show it without saying it, then that's going to be, the best, that especially with subtext. It's like, and never, people never say what they mean. I mean, it's it's like you say, no one says I'm breaking up with you because you don't clean the dishes. And yes, never ever happens.
No, it does. It's always something else. It's always something else, and they always. You're right, and we are constantly decoding human behavior on a daily basis. But for whatever reason, when we write for the first time, you forget that, and you're so on the nose. And it took me a long time to realize what on the nose meant. Because my first scripts were like, I got notes back or I got coverage on it, and they're like, your dialogue's on the nose, and I'm like, I understand the concept, but I'm like, what do you mean? He's going from point A to point B. He's talking about point A to point B.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just the way the story's moving forward. I don't understand why it's not working. And then all of a sudden, something clicks and go, dude, it's not about A to B. It's about Y to Z. And you got to write about Y to Z while you're doing A to B. There you got something. And I probably confused more people listening now than before.
Well, it's a really confusing thing. And actually, as writers, we are facing this dilemma because we're not just writing dialogue that happened in life. This is the other thing. We're not, and I talk about it in the book as well, I'm not expecting you to write your breakup scene. That's going to be boring. I'm sorry. It probably is, it's really important to you. But, out of context, if you write a breakup scene from life, it's going to be boring. We as writers have to also move the plot forward. So we're doing two things. We're moving the plot forward with our dialogue. So we're delivering information that has to do with the plot. And then we're also trying to keep it real, like people speak in real life. And that balance, I think that's where people struggle a lot, because we do have to move the plot forward. They have to break up by the end of the scene. You have to communicate to the audience, they have broken up. Someone might have to say, so we're breaking up. Yeah. Okay, that might have to be in there somewhere, but you don't put that in all the time. So that's the balance that we got to face as writers: keeping it real, keeping the dialogue real, but then moving the plot forward. And very often people just move the plot forward and then they stop keeping it real. And that's the balance. It is difficult, and I think it's one of the most difficult things. I think it's a really tricky question about subtext and why you're reverting to things like A to B and Y to Z, because it becomes quite abstract in a way. And actually, that's a lot of what writing is. It's really abstract. And screenwriting, even though it's a craft, no doubt, and there are a lot of books out there that tell you about, if you plot from X to Y and A to B, and then there's the graphs and diagrams and all these things. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But in truth, no one really knows anything. And you've got to just, it's a fragile beast we're dealing with here, this creativity, especially in screenwriting. And this is what I think is why my book is slightly different to the other stuff, is that it deals with the creative process in the moment when you're creating. And so it's that kind of subtle, and often language fails us at this point. Language fails us, and it becomes art again. And it's quite exciting in a way, even though, I'm telling your viewers now going, what the hell are these guys talking about? Just tell me how to do it. And I'm saying, there are ways. It's not that easy.
It's not.